This is John Finnegan, Buzzard, yeah, and Mrs. McNally was a wonderful woman with a house full, and yet she looked after John and gave him a home and everything. His feet were kind of twisty, had great trouble walking in his sight. And John used to go to all, in the fit-up theatre, he used to go to Westport. And all of these well-known, they became known on television later on in years. And he'd be at every one of those, and he collected all the posters, and he had a trunk full of those posters of all the town hall appearances of the theatre, all the plays that were around, all the plays. And I was up in Lyons photographing for the first time. They were doing some stills for the field, you know, that great film. Yeah. And I was talking to John Cowley, who had been in the Raretons. And he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Westport." He said, "Did you know John Finnegan?" He said to me. I said, "I did, well." He said, "Well, before he died," he says, "I was down to see him, and he gave me this box of posters, and I have all those posters in my house. And I think they should be traced because they're so important. All the different plays that are in Westport." So that was poor old John, was it? Yeah. And that was in Dan O'Brien's house at the Quay. Dan would appear again. He was a bit of a character. He was on the Urban Council. And he was always saying sensational things to the extent that Frank Hall used to always pick it up on Hall's Pictorial Weekly. Now that's Father Tobin, Father Greeley, Anne Conlon, Mrs. O'Brien, and Dan O'Brien, and Johnny next door. Yeah, Farr, Johnny Farr. And that was the simple breakfast, just at the stations. They were lovely and homemade. It was a nice thing. Okay. Now, this is Dr. McGrail from Westport. He's an extraordinary man. And that's his wife. She was Stank's sister. Now, Dr. McGrail was a doctor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days in the year. Always on duty. Anybody could knock, could call to the door. Mary Angela's uncle was his Batman, or he was there always with him too. But he was a lovely man, John. And I was collecting during the summer when I was in school the rates for Charlie Gavin during the summer holidays. And I went into him for the rates. And he said to me, "Look, if you're coming in here looking for money from me, and I put your first shirt on you." So he delivered more babies, and he said he didn't get paid for a quarter of them. Anyway, he was just a nice man, yeah. Okay. Now this was, there was a time when, well, this is a bit sensitive. The whole place was frozen, and there wasn't supposed to be any shooting or any guns or anything. These were a bunch of French, I think, in town, and they shot all these. They couldn't run or fly or anything with the frost and the sun. They were starving. And you think they were great fellows with their guns. All these helpless animals. Anyway, next one, Tom, please. Now, in those times, it was quite common practice for the people to get married in the morning at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, have a wedding breakfast somewhere, and off in the train, then in the honeymoon. Now, it's not as everybody goes in their car, they have their cars and helicopters or whatever they do, but that was a simpler time. And that's Kitty Kerrigan and John Paddymore and her husband. Who were back in 1960. Sorry? And I just put in that one just to show you what times were like then. People could only go for a few days on a train to Dublin and back again. So that's next. Now that was a camogie wedding. She played camogie, Lena Lennon, and she was quite a good camogie girl. Mary Angela talked about her on the radio, Westport Radio the last night too. It's just nice. This is Westport girls' table tennis team in the town hall. It's been done up now. This one, the top floor of the town hall, was the table tennis. Maura Maguire, Trish Salmon, Joan Collins again, and Frances O'Grady. Okay, table tennis, yeah. Just showing you that's the way young men used to dress in. This was an actor, a young, smart young lad back then. This is where you've been to us, yeah? Okay. Now, this is the story of in Castlebar. They brought a pageant on St. Patrick coming to Ireland, and they brought the wreath over to Castlebar. The big heap on the ground, and he's standing up and Andy McTighe. And that's the shot I got him. He was good, yeah. Okay, come on. And this was some of the military, the soldiers. But okay, come on. Now this was where he was baptizing the first two saints in Ireland. They were the daughters of the High King of Connaught, according to legend. And it was Fidelma and Etna. And I remember at that, and I was saying, that Fidelma's a lovely name. If I ever have a daughter, I call her Fidelma. I would say Zades, thankfully. And they say she was the first, she was a princess and the first Irish saint. No, Fidelma is our princess. She is too. Now this is the one in the textile factory in 1963 with Sean Lamass and his wife opening the textile factory, which was great, it brought great employment for a long period to Westport. So thanks to the Courtleys managed it then. Okay. Now this is John Malloy's boat with coal coming into the quay in Westport. The coal lorry. Alright, that's another shot of it. Coal. That's, I don't know where that is, but you see there's a stack of hay there with the ladder up. It's just some sort of until they lost the land was and some of it too rough to do. Okay, this was Tom Hoare. He had a blacksmith shop in James Street, but he was more than a blacksmith really. He was more wrought iron and welding. He did effigies of St. Patrick in wrought iron, but his wife's people had a pub there. And I don't remember the nickname that was on it. The bucket of blood. Yeah. But anyway, that was a big machine that had to be welded up in the street. You couldn't have no workshop with that in it. Just had it. Now, the tradition then was bonfires on the street, and this is Peter Street. Yeah. And you see, you couldn't do that now with cars and with tarmac and everything. And they'd have a great old time music and dancing. They would have cups of tea or whatever it was, and the next one from. Yeah, you see, they'd bring up the chairs. And, yeah, that was a Peter Street. It was done in every street in town. Right? Yeah. Now, this was just to show the variety of things that were happening, and there wasn't much happening in the county, but this was Paddy Kelly, Castlebar Street, and he got the contract to put a bridge over in Ballylahan over the Moy. And that was a great achievement for him at the time, and you have the photograph of that. Next column. Yeah, there's Paddy Kelly there. That's him there, yeah. It's just as part of history, those things happen.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about that one now. Charlie High was Minister of Agriculture at the time. He was Minister of Agriculture, I think he was at the time, but he came to Westport to meet some of the businessmen of the town. And there's Owen Hughes, Brian Murray, Michael Brown, and that man there, he was the CA, County Agriculture Officer, O'Donnell. And Jeff O'Malley there, Jeff O'Malley. And I lined them up for a photograph, and Charlie High was very insistent on photographs taken. And I clicked no flash, clicked no flash, clicked no flash, and I was turning red to purple. And he stepped out of the group and came over to me and says, "What's the matter?" I said, "This fault in the flash, sir. Have you got another one?" I said, "I have." Now at the time this was in the 2A, and I had my place on Bridge Street. Get it, he says. So I went over and got the other flash unit. The little cables used to go in them, you never know when they'd go in. So I came over with the other flash unit and it came in, and he was sitting down in the corner there, and his own, and the people were all around him, and he saw me coming in straight up. He said, "Working now?" I said, "Yeah." He got the men together immediately. What I'm saying about this is how, to him, how important his image that he was on the papers. He made sure it was published. And actually, at the time he was fired by Jack Lynch, then, he approached Steve Tracy, this photographer in the Farmer's Journal, and he said, "Steve, I want to see you in my office." And he said, "Steve, anything I'm at now for the next 3 years, he said, I want you to take photographs and send the bill to me." Charlie High was never out of the paper, even though he was out of office for those 3 years. And Steve built a new house out of the... And we were at his wife's funeral there in Westmont. Not his now, but Steve Tracy's. And I worked for the Farmers Ireland, and I did a lot of contracts for 20 years. Okay. Now these were, there's the prosthetic work here in Westport. This is a thing too that's, I suppose it's gone now, it's really gone, where the people who just died out. But I think it was in Aurora in Africa that I saw a vestment from Westport, the priest, it was an African priest. It was nice to see, yeah. Okay, now this is a men's toilet. This was I had to photograph this. There was an objection by a number of people just prior to the amusements or whatever you call it, coming to the mall, the green just bar, the mall, and they were saying there were no toilet facilities or anything. But this was the toilet facilities that were there. It was men only, it was a men's toilet. Not the women have to do it. It's a rare photo. There's 3 generations of the Malloys now. Johnny isn't here. That's old Frank Malloy, who owned the shops. And that's his son, Frank. And that's Frank, young Frank, Johnny's son. His father Frank. Yeah, the 3 Franks, 3 generations. Okay. Now this is Brasswedge band, we'll have to move out of Westport now for a little while. Brasswedge band was a big name. That's Brass himself, who's died since, and there's 2 of his sons. Where's the third? Not sure is it there. But oh, he is. That's the 3rd son. Yeah, and they're still going today. Brass is dead, and they're still going today. 50 years later, the band is, which some of them are dead, of course. Those 3 lads are still playing. Okay. Now this is industry in Westport at that time. There was an exhibition of showing how basic it was and how little it was. This was Berry Prince. And can you imagine how that changed, how it improved? The Allegan made such a difference to Westport. It built up everything that all the ships rose in the tide after Allegan. That's Berry Prince. That's their display at a trade show. Next is, this was a place at the quay. John O'Malley's father had this sea green because some sort of process from seaweed, seaweed, yeah. This is Pat O'Connell's brush factory, that was his display. Yeah. Okay. And this was something done at Marlborough, I don't know who was doing it. Right? No. And this was a sewing cotton company, thread factory. It was the only thread factory in Ireland at the time. And this was Lastra Foundation Girls. Lastra, I had to do their brochure for 4 years. But the girls having to keep changing into different bras, panties, roll-ons, all those. I was an expert in those. And I used to do them outdoors in Westport House, did you believe it? Some of them I did them outdoors. And it used to be very exciting. That's Cyril Cullen. He had a kind of a knitwear there in design. He's up there, I met him during Gone there a few years ago. He's still doing it, but he was in Westport at the time. Cyril Cullen, very well-known designer in wood garments. Okay. Now, just show you the streets again. In 55. Not many cars. Wedge. It used to rain then too. Yeah, it used to rain, yeah. That's Bridge Street. This was go-karting in Castlebar. That's Henry Jones. Go-karting, yes, okay. Now, this is the dance hall scenes. That's Joe Collins, you might have done him here. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more there, I don't know if I went through them. But that's what it was like now as we dance there. It used to be packed, heaving people. There's Mary Cameron, she married Johnny Mee in Castlebar. Yeah. But that's the way it used to be. All the men would be down that side, the women this side. And there'd be a rush over then. Yeah, and that's where I fixed them over then. Okay. And this was, there used to be a lot of smoking. Yeah. So a lot of smoking. And you see sorry farmers, and again, you see the Slim Jim ties at the time, and the Tony Curtis hairdos, the DA hairstyle. Okay. more dance hall scenes, but people will recognize people in those, that's why I thought that. There's now, this is interesting, there's Teresa Berry there,
That's it.
with married Joe, but that's not Joe. Now, but it's the same dancer, I go on, Tom.